What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the ShiftEQ.Podcast with Alan K. Today's episode is the 3 behaviors that Asian men need to stop in order for us to stop being emasculated. But first, let me bring up a couple of things, bring you guys up to speed, as well as then talk about why this episode is being created. So the first one being, I did want to catch up everybody on my fitness journey. As you guys already know, I'm a huge emphasis on working out, having goals. Even more importantly, I cannot encourage enough the value of what it would be for you to actually sign up for a competition of some sort, whether that be a bodybuilding, physique, whatever that may or may not be, sign up for one. Push yourself to that limit, and I promise you it will be the most gratifying experience that you will ever have in your physical fitness journey, as well as your emotional and your self-improvement journey. You know, for me, I talked about this in this last episode with Jacob Beneventi, but in there I spoke about the changes that happen when you start going after goals that you otherwise didn't think that you were capable of. You know, for me, I dealt with a lot of body shame issues, and all of a sudden, when I'm up on stage, I'm at a place where I never thought I would be. I thought I was always going to be fat. I thought I'm always going to have to wear a t-shirt when I go swimming. I always thought that in order for me to feel comfortable having sex, I have to have the lights off. You know, like these kind of things really do exist among men. And by competing and by getting myself stretching into a phase where A, I ran a marathon, and then B, competed in a competition all within a month, those kind of accolades carry over into other areas of your life. And I can't describe this enough. It's helped me with my emotional health. It's helped me with my mental health, a lot of self-confidence, a lot of self-perseverance issues that I otherwise was avoiding had I not been actually going after these kind of things. And now that I'm on this path and this journey, I have a lot of it to thank for actually competing and setting myself up in a manner that I otherwise would have never thought was possible. So again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Sign up for a competition, train. I will, I'm actually starting again next month for my next competition in March. So my Instagram page, ShiftEQ.Podcast, for those of you guys don't follow, is going to consist of a lot of working out on top of a lot of this men's empowerment and specifically Asian men empowerment kind of things. Now, the Asian men empowerment. A lot of the reason why this channel was started, a lot of the reason why I decided to start speaking about a lot of these things is not only for men's health per se, but more of Asian men's health. And let me explain. For someone who was adopted in a white family and constantly experienced the cliche of you're the Asian in a white family, society treated me as the Asian in a white family. And what I mean by that is all the Asian stereotypes you can imagine from the 90s and the 2000s was put on me 24/7. You know, I wasn't Alan. I was the Asian kid in a white family. So I wasn't allowed exactly much space to be myself because I was more of a label than I was anything else, because it was the easiest way that people could define me, label me, remember me, characterize me. And when you're at such a young, impressionable age, when you're so vulnerable with your identity because you don't know who you are. Again, I went to a foster care system. I was in I was adopted in a white family. The amount of identity issues that can happen because you don't know who you are, it's just mind-blowing. And I know that because of that, because I didn't have an identity, the identity that I would gravitate towards are the stereotypes that Asian people still face today. And what I have learned, at least now, after a lot of work and a lot of growth and experiences, that a lot of the self-deprecation and self-sabotage that we face today is because it comes from ourselves. A lot of the Asian stereotypes that people still face, a lot of the emasculation that comes in lieu of those narratives and those monikers actually happen because we allow it to. And sometimes we insinuate it to happen. And a lot of us are programmed so hard into actually making it happen to ourselves. And here's the thing. My fellow Asian men and women who are listening to this, and for anybody else who can identify with this, one of the biggest strengths that we have as Asian Americans is the ability to assimilate. Whether that be assimilating into white culture, whether it's assimilating into a group of friends, because we're so used to being ostracized for being different, that the only way that we can be accepted in most westernized cultures or westernized kind of groups of people is to assimilate into like being them. And this caused a lot of other people when they got older or when they got into their friend groups that weren't Asian to be like, oh, I'm not your normal Asian. I'm not your normal this. It's pretty apparent and pretty obvious as to what those stereotypes are when it comes to Asian men. We're not sexualized. We're very much thought of as lower. We constantly get made fun of for being shorter or being smaller or anything else that comes into that nature. And I'm going to stop there because I can only imagine that you guys know what I'm going into. With that being said, when it comes to my experience being in the military, when you are taught the wickets that you need to meet in order for you to actually become a leader, in order for you to advance and rank. And then also my experiences in poker, where you not only have a method of playing, but you also kind of have to balance what other people think of you. There's two things that I've learned. In order for us to get over this emasculation, in order for us to just be ourselves outside of a label. Two things. First one, you have to be aware of who you are. Yes, that's not me. You're not, for me, I'm not Asian. Yes, my name is Alan, but I'm not Alan. I am just me. I'm a guy that loves working out. I'm a guy that loves my kids. I'm a guy that loves doing podcasting and things like that. That's who I am, right? I'm not just Asian. I'm not just whatever. But with that being said, in order for us to succeed in society, in order for us to provide value to a community, we have to understand how to be communal. And what this requires us to do is to not only be aware of who you actually are, but you actually have to know who you really are while also being aware of what other people think you are. Now, I know this might sound like me telling you that you need to lead off with, yes, I'm Asian, now whatever. What I've learned of what works best for me in any kind of social situations is A, you don't make it about yourself. And I'm going to go into the list about things that we need to do. And there's one of them. You don't make it about yourself. You don't make it this, and you don't project these stereotypes. You don't project monikers and then have them fit you into it. What you do is allow them to actually express themselves. And if they start going into a nature, if they start exhibiting behaviors that makes you feel that they are marginalizing you, that make you feel they're labeling you, stereotyping you, that's when we need to take action. Now, more often than not, I would say to walk away, because there's a lot of those situations where not. Or you can ask them about it, you can challenge them about it, which another thing that I would highly recommend, especially if it's amongst people that you can comfortably talk about. But you'll see through the examples that I brought more than anything else, a lot of these are self-inflicted. And in order for us to start getting out of these Asian stereotypes, in order for us to start creating Asian American men into an actual label that does represent masculinity, that does represent competence, we need to do these kind of things. Another thing that I want to bring into this episode is also created because I am sick and fucking tired of listening to other people constantly saying that we need more representation first. We need this and this first. I'm a huge believer in be, do, have. And let me explain what be, do, have is for those of you guys who don't know. A lot of us are under the impression that in order for us to have to be anybody, we have to have this, then we can do these kind of things, then we can be that person. In other words, like, for example, The only time I can be confident with my body is when I have the abs, and then I could do the workouts that have those abs, and then I'll be that person. No. In order for you to achieve anything, you have to be that person first. And being that person doesn't mean it's on the outside. Being that person comes on the inside. Being that person creates those habits, those behaviors, those mindsets, that's conditioning that allows you to do those exercises that will allow you to have those results. But you have to be that person first. But if we constantly tell ourselves that the only way that we're going to get ahead and the only way that we're going to actually be of a respected nature that empowers us into being anybody, that we have to have something represent us first, you have no power, no authority in the dictation of your life. And for me, I do not enjoy allowing someone else to control the narrative of my life. And by all means, if that's what you enjoy, this channel is not for you. This is all about owning where the fuck you are. This is all about understanding, life isn't fair, but this is the only life that you got. And the only way to make it fair is by creating fair for yourself. And that is a challenge. But fuck, I would rather live that every fucking day than to tell, oh my God, I can't do this because I'm Asian. I can't do this because I'm insecure. And I can't. No. Because no matter what, if you believe you can and you believe you can't, you're absolutely right. And if you think the only way that you're going to get ahead is when someone else represents you, you're still not empowered. You're still marginalized, as a matter of fact. So stop listening to those fucking things that keep on trying to tell you that you need something in order for you to do that. No. You just need to become that person first. And yes, is it going to be challenging as shit? Absolutely it will. Absolutely it is. But that's why it's so respected and so marveled for people to get detached from external validation in order for them to get there where they need. So again, that's what this episode is for. And before I keep ranting, let me talk about the 3 things that men need to do, Asian men need to do, or Asian men need to stop, actually. Sorry. The 3 behaviors that Asian men need to stop if they want to actually stop being emasculated. Now, the first one. Stop allowing people to misappropriate you. I said it again. Let me say it again. Stop allowing people to misappropriate you. How many times have you ever been in a setting where you're having conversations with friends or being in a social setting, and all of a sudden they'll be like, well, that's because you're Asian. Well, it's because you're Asian and you blah, blah, blah. And it's something of a demeaning manner, I was at a poker game a few weeks ago, and this one guy just started going on a rant. Well, it's because you're Asian and you got a small dick, right? And that's why. And he was just speaking out his facts. I'm just like, why do you think that? Now, mind you, I walked away. I don't know this guy. I can give 2 shits less. It's pretty clear that he was just really insecure, wasn't getting any. He was just talking out his ass. People do this all the time in order for themselves to make themselves feel better. But you could very much tell it's coming from a very insecure place. So why am I going to correct him? Now, if it was one of my friends, if it was in a social setting that could potentially make me feel like I'm insignificant in that social setting, and I continue, and if I want to stay in that, that's when you got to confront them. And not confront them in a manner that's like, oh, hey, fuck you. I'm like, why do you think that? Why do you think this? Why is it got to be because I'm Asian? Why is it got to be this, and this? We're at a point now where when you start speaking about things that are potentially racist, as a general whole, people know that's wrong. But the thing about Asian comments is it's one of those things that's constantly being kind of accepted still. But if you stop it from the beginning, if you stop it and you show that it's not allowed and you set up a boundary, that's how people start changing. You have to create the change that you want to see. Now, sometimes that does come with a little bit of animus. Sometimes that does come with a little pushback. Fine. So what? Talk it out if you got to. Handle the confrontation. We have to handle confrontation. That's what makes us men. But now, if you're in a setting, though, where they constantly allow that, if you're in a setting that even though you stick up for yourself and you set up a boundary, other people persist, that's a setting you don't want to be in. I know it's kind of challenging, but at some point or another, if you have to constantly sit in an area where you are just swallowing your pride for the sake of being social in that setting or being accepted in that setting, then you are literally accepting a lower version of yourself. And if you want to be viewed as someone of respect, if you want to be viewed as someone that is masculine, then you have to treat that. You have to treat yourself such as those characteristics. Because if you allow something that you know is going to make you a less version of yourself, then other people will treat you that and will accept you as a lower version of yourself. Here's a fact. People will treat you the way that you treat yourself. And if you allow those kind of things to happen, they will say it to you. All right. So the first one we talked about was the stop allowing people to misappropriate you. Number two reason, or the number two behavior that Asian men need to stop in social settings is to stop wearing attire that makes fun of Asian culture. Now, I remember a long time ago, Abercrombie and Fitch came out with the fucking racist ass shirt that says two wrongs don't make a white. Obviously, this is making fun of the stereotypical Asian accent. But when you have Asian people wearing those kind of shirts, when it comes to people who aren't Asian, and it comes to people that want to emasculate you and want to view you as a lower race, they make fun of you for wearing that kind of attire. And I know a lot of us find value in finally being noticed by making other people laugh based off of the Asian stereotypes that we not only hear, but then project onto ourselves. But if you want to start creating a respectful masculine energy about being Asian male, you can now wear things that perpetuate Asian stereotypes, like a shirt that says two wrongs don't make a white. Or you go to certain settings where you're the token Asian and all of a sudden you're doing is wearing token Asian clothing. You got to get out of that. I know that it might sound really fucked up because I'm trying to tell you, you can't wear this, you can't wear that. It's just the reality of the world, dude. It's just the reality of how people perceive you. And now, mind you, if you don't give a fuck about that, and if you don't care about being viewed in some kind of emasculated way, by all means, fam, you have the right to do whatever the fuck you want. You can wear whatever sriracha shirt, you can wear whatever karate shirt or whatever Asian anything. You can fucking wear all you damn well want. But if you're trying to assimilate into a westernized world, all the while trying to teach him that Asian stereotypes aren't exactly real and you're above them, then you have to do things that do not perpetuate or do not project the energy onto you just as is. I know it's challenging as shit, but it is what the fuck it is. Okay, now, number three, the third one, the last behavior that we need to change. And obviously, this list is not just limited to three, because I'm pretty sure with this list being said, it probably inspires other situations that you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this kind of a nature. But the third and final thing that Asian men need to stop in order for us to stop being emasculated is to stop making it about our race. How many times have you said, oh, is that because I'm Asian? Oh, is that because I'm Asian? Is this because I'm Asian? Even if it is, you need to have the wherewithal to understand how to maneuver that respective situation. I can't tell you how many times, especially in poker, because there is a common Asian rhetoric that goes around in the poker world. And it's either you're like a gamble Asian, as they say, or you're this kind of Asian. And here's the one fun thing. When I used to live in Vegas, completely understanding how people stereotype poker is the worst stereotypical community ever. Because even on training sites, you'll see, this old man coffee or this Asian whatever, this Asian wreck or this 15-year-old kid. And Asian's just a moniker that has nothing to do with race, but just how people want to identify as such. But with that being said, I cannot tell you how many times when I lived in Vegas, I would show up to a poker table speaking with the worst Asian accent ever. Like, I go gamble, do all this. Why do I do that? Because poker is a balancing, again, of knowing who you are and the skills that you're capable of, all the while being aware of what your opponents are capable of and being aware of what they view of you. Because that would dictate how you play. For example, I'm a very just ABC solid player. I play a lot of hands pre-flop that are either suited connectors or very good pocket pairs, hands with a lot of equity. But the image I project out in tables of of poker games that don't know me is that of a gambling Asian. And why do I do that? Is because if all I do is play solid, I only bet when I have it. But if I project this image that thinks that I'm a gambling motherfucker and I'm just bluffing, then that sets up a very positive, equitable, profitable session for me. You could do this in other areas of your life, such as this. Now, I know that's kind of an extreme situation and making it work for you. But when you cannot make it about your race, when you make those social settings about just the behaviors, but also balancing the fact that they will make it about your race, that's how you take the power. And you're going to be provoked in so many different situations. You're definitely going to be kind of cornered into a way to say that it is because you're Asian in some of these settings. Just be above it. Way easier said than done. Way easier said than done. So the three things that we just summarized here right now, the three behaviors that Asian men need to stop in order for us to start creating Asian men into a very masculine label and a label of strength is: 1, stop allowing people to misappropriate you. 2, stop wearing attire that makes fun of Asian culture. And number 3, stop making it about your race. So guys, hope you guys really enjoy this episode. Hope you guys enjoy the rant that I went on earlier. But I gotta be honest with you guys. This is, being an Asian American male really means something to me. You know, not because of where it can go, but for me, even in the negative stereotypes and the rhetorics, it's helped me develop into the confidence and the person that I am today. If there's one characteristic that constantly gets overlooked in the human experience, is resilience. Because the contrast that resilience provides you an opportunity always to be a better version of yourself if you choose to. If you choose to. Because, ladies and gentlemen, life can move on, and life will move on without you. And everything that you honestly do on this world will be overlooked in some manner, shape, or form. So with that being said, why not live your best fucking life? Be the best version of yourself. And stop telling yourself you can't, and stop finding ways that you can. Well, all right, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And until we get canceled, well,